welcome back to our next edition in our newsletter videos. Today, I'd like to introduce someone who I've known for a long time. So, who is Simon?
I am a technical recruiter, like probably many others out there. I've got about 12, 13 years experience in technical recruiting, both agency and in-house. Currently, I lead engineering recruitment as a senior TA partner here at Trailed.
Awesome. Tell us about Trailed and what are you building there right now?
In short, it's an accounts payable automation interface that integrates deeply with all the major ERP systems. So effectively it becomes like a one-stop shop for finance teams to manage all of those manual processes that typically sit outside of their ERP system, and does it in a really kind of smooth and simple way with using, AI and LLM technology to do a lot of the heavy lifting.
What's one thing that you tend to look for in a resume that makes you sort of stop and pay attention to it?
I try not to place too much emphasis on a CV because it's such a small window into an individual. Beyond of like technical skills and companies that they've worked at, looking for environment experience, whether it's their current company or it's a past company, doesn't really matter. But if they've got some kind of indication or some kind of that they've worked in a similar space to ours, even if it's outside the domain knowledge, it doesn't matter. But that's probably one thing. I love seeing other things outside of that, things like volunteering experience, running their own businesses on the side, freelancing, consulting, that kind of stuff, that kind of entrepreneurial mindset. I love those things. That kind of approach, that kind of experience, I think works really well in a business like ours because they bring with that a sense of ownership to the work that they do. And beyond of that, I think I look for a bit of personality. CVs can be very dry and boring things, and they typically are. But if someone injects a little bit of fun, a little bit of flair, even if it's just one line, and when I see that, that really stands out to me.
I think with CVs, it's always an interesting one because automation and ChatGPT and stuff doesn't help now, I guess, to a certain degree.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Totally. Use it to create yourself a draft to kind of defeat the blank page.
yeah,
But once the draft is there, make it your own,
yeah.
please.
What does an interview process at Trail look like?
We try to keep it really straightforward and pretty similar across the board. So engineering, sales, customer success, RevOps, the whole thing typically is all kept to 3 rounds. There will always be, for the most part, like an initial interview, typically with the manager, then some kind of technical round, whether it's a take-home task or a presentation or a role play, there's some kind of like skills assessment, and then a culture interview at the end. Engineering is a little bit more specific. So there's a live coding test, then a design architecture conversation, whiteboarding, and then the culture interview at the end.
Why do you think that cultural interview is important at the end?
For us, if I think just about engineering, it really is important to ensure that even if someone is technically brilliant, that they still need to meet those bars. Are they going to be someone that we want to work in our team? If they're a leader, are they going to raise the bar technically? Are they going to be supportive colleagues? Are they going to be the kind of person that, irrespective of their title, goes, oh yeah, I can help with that, put up their hand and just muck in to get something done? That kind of humility and adaptability, coachability, those types of things are still super important. But we'll still get engineers that come all the way through that 3rd round, and occasionally we will not pass them because we don't feel as though they have those attributes. And it's the same thing with a misaligned hire. So
Yeah.
if you don't get that one right, it will permeate through the whole team and have a lot of negative consequences.
Trail's grown 200% in the last 12 months. What does hiring in that kind of growth actually feel like, and how do you make sure people land well?
A combination of fun and exciting, and also terrifying, because you just don't know. Like, one minute you think everything's in control, and the next minute you're like, things are out of control. And for the most part, it's been a really positive experience because we're all supportive of each other. We have really transparent conversations. Do we need recruitment agency partners? Should we look at offshores? Do we look at contractors? Like, there's constantly asking the questions that we should be asking in order to meet the goals that we've set for ourselves. So it doesn't feel like it's all on you as a recruiter to solve. It's always been very much a team effort.
So you're remote first with half the team in Australia. What does culture actually look like day to day, and how does that show up in your on who you hire as well?
When you're talking about a remote first company, it shows up in such a myriad of ways. There's a whole bunch of microcultures across the business, and you've got your actual working teams, your squads, your different teams and things who meet on a regular basis. And they will then form kind of little microcultures amongst themselves with how they work and their dynamic and how they support each other. Building a culture, there's not a one size fits all. It's not, hey, we do this and we have a good culture. There's so many different things you need to think of now, particularly in a hybrid organization, in a global organization. At its root, it really starts with who we hire.
You're in a phase where you're still hiring, but focusing on setting the existing team up for success. How do you decide when to add headcount versus when to slow down and consolidate?
From my perspective, it's multifaceted. Part of it is about our own strategy and staying true to kind of our roadmap and our. It's also listening to the market, responding to market conditions and being quite pragmatic. It's listening to key stakeholders like our board and our investors, to the feedback that's coming from those channels. And they're very good at paying attention to those things, thinking about both the short and long-term goals of the business and not sacrificing anything one for the other.
For someone who's considering a role at Trailed at the moment, what should they know about when it comes to what it's actually like to work there that they won't find on the career page?
A lot of the engineers that I've hired over the last 6 months and caught up with them after they've been here for a month or two, they all say the same thing. There's a lot more here at Trailed than what they expected stepping into a scale up. There's more infrastructure, there's more process, there's more Confluence pages and things that have been thought out and systems in place and commercial maturity in general than what they had anticipated. I think they were expecting a bit more of a Wild West scenario, which is quite common, but that's not the case here. Like if we want to be a $10 billion business in 4 or 5 years time or sooner, then we need to operate that way now.
What would make someone a genuinely great fit for Trailed if they were looking to apply for a role with you guys?
Is someone who has, beyond of the technical experience and background for the role, courage to make an impact, to take ownership of the piece that they work in. We want the ideas. We want you to challenge us. We want you to come in and tell us how you think we can do things better. No one's going to shoot you down for doing that. In fact, if anything, it's going to be encouraged. So, a bias to action, a bias to change, come in and make us better.
Simon, thank you so much for that. Thank you very much for your time.